You're watching VinylicPumaGaming.
What's up, guys? Back with another Fallout 4 video, and today I figured we could go over something that you may have wondered a little about from the Far Harbor DLC. Other than thinking that she is a synth, why would Kasumi make the decision to run away from her parents? Now, before we start, it's important to mention that this video will feature a combination of solid facts that we know about Kasumi, as well as some speculation. Just be aware, when I answer the question posed in this video's title, I will be engaging in speculation from that point on. However, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what we know about Kasumi Nakano from the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. As is presented in Fallout 4's Far Harbor DLC, Kasumi Nakano originally lived in the Commonwealth with her parents Kenji and Rei. Now, when you actually go to the Nakano residence for the first time, you discover that Kasumi has run away and her parents can't figure out where she went. So you look around the house and eventually discover that she restored a radio and that she has gone to the island of Far Harbor where Acadia, a home for escaped synths, is located. She does this on the assumption that she is a synth. She is getting this idea based on a dream that she continues to have ever since she was a child. In fact, one of Kasumi's holotapes, entitled Dreams, has Kasumi explaining her dream to the player. So we'll go ahead and we'll play that for you right now.
Project log, dreams. Recording what I can remember when I wake up. I keep having the same one. I'm in a white room. People are talking about me like I'm not there, or maybe they just don't care. And then there's this, I don't know, jolt, like a spark of electricity to the back of my head, and then everyone turns to look at me. God, I hope I don't have it again tonight.
Now, assuming you've beaten Fallout 4 or you've been to the Institute, aesthetically speaking, the vast majority of the Institute consists of white rooms. However, it's worth mentioning that synths are created by assembling bone, then presumably the Institute 3D prints flesh, and after that, they're dipped in a vat with red solution, only to emerge complete with skin and eyes. There also aren't several Institute personnel in the room while this is all taking place, and the Institute personnel that are in the room seem pretty unfazed by the entire situation. So I would say Kasumi's dreams of being a synth don't line up with the reality. But I digress. Eventually, you meet Kasumi at Acadia, who informs the player there seems to be something wrong at Acadia. So she has you look around and try to figure out what's going on in Acadia. Of course, if you've played and completed Far Harbor, you come to discover that Dima has intentionally forgotten memories about how he killed Captain Avery and replaced her with the synth version, which is more friendly to incoming synths. He also has access to a wind turbine kill switch, which would wipe out the Far Harbor settlement, as well as nuclear launch codes, which would wipe out the Children of Adam located at the nucleus. At this point in the DLC, the player can decide what to do. However, if the player asks Dima to atone, the player can also ask Kasumi to go home to both of her parents. While Kasumi indicates that she still doesn't know whether she is a synth or not, she feels that she should go and be with her family anyway. Typically, synth characters are revealed in Fallout 4 upon killing them and retrieving their synth component. It is worth mentioning that if you choose the Brotherhood, Institute, or Far Harbor endings and attack Acadia, Kasumi will die during the battle, and upon checking her corpse, she is revealed to not be a synth as she doesn't drop a synth component. So I think we can say with possibly near certainty that Kasumi isn't a synth. Now, a recurring theme that you will discover while looking at some of Kasumi's holotapes is that she is a gearhead and really likes to work with electronics. She has specific holotapes dedicated to fixing a holotape player, a television, a lamp, kitchen mixer, a pair of swings, and the radio which she uses to discover Acadia. You will also discover that she has been fairly sheltered all her life, and she wants to go out to retrieve supplies for several projects that she's working on. In both of the project logs that mention both the television and the kitchen mixer, she mentions that she would like to go and see the old television studios out in downtown Boston. However, her mother starts to get upset when she admits that. There's also the conversation that she has with Kenji about the kitchen mixer. When she asks if she can go with Kenji downtown to retrieve the supplies she needs, Kenji implies that it isn't safe out in the wasteland and specifically says to Kasumi that, quote, "You're safe here, okay? Of course, as in you're safer here at our house, however you might get hurt or worse out in the wasteland. According to Kasumi Nakano's mother, Rei Nakano, she says that Kasumi is about 19 years old. In a sense, she's at that awkward age where she isn't really a kid anymore, however, she isn't necessarily a fully fledged adult living on her own. You also figure that Kasumi may never have left her house before the age of 19, and add this on top of the fact that her father and mother won't let her go to some of the places that she wants to go, and you start to understand why she might want to leave her parents' house for a little while. Now that we've gone over Kasumi Nakano relatively in depth, it's time we answered the following question presented in the video's title. Why did Kasumi Nakano run away to Acadia? Now, the common argument is simply because she thought that she was a synth. However, I would like to poise the idea that Kasumi's desire to run away goes a lot further than simply thinking that she's a synth. Granted, while thinking she is a synth is certainly part of it, I think the entire situation is just more complex. Now, we've got a pretty good idea that Kasumi isn't a synth. While I suppose she could be, I ultimately doubt it. And the catalyst for Kasumi leaving was when she fixed up her radio and heard about Acadia, not when her house was attacked by Institute coursers. I also think it's important to consider why the Institute would want to replace Kasumi in the first place. She's a 19-year-old girl, and unlike somebody like Roger Warwick, Mayor McDonough, or Paladin Dance, she doesn't have access to significant resources or political power. And in that regard, I would say Kenji Nakano, who is Kasumi's father, is more ripe for replacement in that regard as he owns his own boat, which is something that appears to be uncommon in the wasteland. But again, while I suppose Kasumi could be a synth, it seems highly unlikely to me as she isn't a political target, and what inspired her to leave in the first place was something she heard on the radio rather than trying to flee from coursers. Depending on how you look at it, I think it's also worth mentioning that Kasumi Nakano is a teenager or young adult, and as far as we know, she may have never been able to leave her parents' house despite her desire to do so. Adolescence is a time in someone's life where they are struggling to find a sense of identity, and the need to simply fit in is so strong that some teenagers go to serious extremes to do so. After all, why are you considered to either be a geek, jock, nerd, prep, emo, goth, or whatever else during this period of your life? Perhaps Kasumi sees herself as a nobody, she wants to belong, and for whatever reason, she identifies more with synths than what she perceives to be regular people, which are her parents. Another important thing to consider is that both Kenji and Rei may not let Kasumi ever leave the house. I would think that this would contribute to a major desire for Kasumi to just want to leave the house for a while, to go out and see some of the world. She has indicated before that she would like to go out with her father to town in an attempt to pick up some supplies. Or she has told her mother that she would like to see the old television broadcast stations from before the war. However, in both situations, her parents have told her that she should just stay home because it's simply not safe. And even if she does leave the house on occasion with her parents, she may have the desire to leave the house on her own. And while Kasumi's parents may be right to be protective of their daughter, since it's implied that Kasumi's grandfather died scavenging for supplies, in doing so, they are also pushing her away from them. And perhaps in a desire to belong and also just get out of the house, Kasumi simply went to Acadia to see what was there and just to be away for a while. To belong, she convinced herself that she was a synth, and assuming that she was able to stay there long enough, perhaps she would begin to notice that she was starting to age, while her synth companions do not. And from that point, maybe she would just return home. Think about it this way for a moment as well. Does Kasumi have any friends that she hangs out with on a regular basis? At the very least, she is making some friends in Acadia, and while I would agree there was probably a better way to go about it, you have to admit that her parents probably weren't going to let her go into the world and explore by herself, especially since they have frowned upon going out anywhere. So if you ask me, it was really a perfect storm of things that ultimately led to Kasumi running away to Acadia. A combination between thinking that she is a synth, despite evidence pointing to the contrary, the need to belong and fit in with people other than her parents, and on some level to just get out and see the world, have new experiences, and try out new things instead of staying cooped up in her parents' house until she is forced to start making her own decisions. At the end of the day, Kasumi is sort of an interesting character. Unlike the vast majority of the other NPCs in Fallout 4, Kasumi is much younger than all of the other NPCs, which you would assume are maybe in their mid-20s and up. Other than the specified and obvious child NPCs, we rarely get to see any adolescent or young adult characters in any of the games. This is fairly ironic, considering that in Fallout 3, you play as the Lone Wanderer, who is basically Kasumi's age. But for the most part, all of the NPCs that you interact with are seemingly far older than you, ranging in age from their late 20s to 50s and 60s. Perhaps that's why it's so shocking to go to Little Lamplight and find a settlement that is mostly just run by children. But just to recap, while Kasumi thinking that she is a synth may certainly be one reason she ran away from home, you also have to consider that it goes beyond that and comes down to her own age and possibly her upbringing. Sadly, it's possible that many other children in the Fallout universe may be sheltered. In some dialogue with Kate, it's revealed that she spent the first 18 years of her life living in her parents' house before she was sold into slavery. Granted, Kenji and Rei Nakano aren't those type of parents, but like Kate's parents, they are keeping their children isolated. In both Kate and Kasumi's cases, I think their parents' behavior of keeping them isolated messed both of them up to some degree. Kate appears to be depressed quite a lot of the time, and Kasumi is confused about who she really is. While I think Kasumi's parents in particular mean well, they themselves are partly to blame for Kasumi's decision to leave. But alright guys, I think that's probably going to wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like and let me know what you think about the audio quality for this video. I recently picked up a brand new mic and I figured I would go ahead and try to do some recording with it. In general, let me know how you think it sounds, but otherwise, like this video if you liked it, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see you all next time.